In logical files, what did we cover last time? We covered how to create a logical file. In order for you to create a logical file, you must already have a physical file created. We talked about that. We also looked into RDI, Rational Developer for I. We started working with source physical files. We started working with physical files, logical files, compilation, how to open green screen. All of those things we worked with last time. We will be reviewing some of that stuff today, but rather we're not going to be spending as much time as we did last week. But that'll be a good review for everybody when we start working in that direction. But for now, what I want to do is I want to go under the units, and under unit number 8, I want to look at what is the class notes. You guys also have access to class notes. I will be sharing my screen shortly. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, we have more people joining in, which is good. We have Oriel just join us. Hi, Oriel. So we will start talking about logical files again, just as a review, and then we will go back and do the hands-on stuff. This PowerPoint is available to you in unit number 8, logical files. So what exactly is a logical file? Logical file is a member when it is coded and an object after compilation. The main difference between logical files and physical files is that logical files cannot hold data. They always borrow the data from one or more physical files. That's always the case with the logical files. They cannot exist without a physical file. That means when you are about to compile the logical file, the physical file or files, if it's singular or plural, whatever is the case, all of those physical files must exist as objects prior to you working with your logical files. The benefits of logical files is that it allows you to read the data, however much data you need. You do not need to be exposed to the entire data set. Sometimes you do a horizontal read, sometimes you do a vertical read, sometimes you do a combination of the two. What would be an example of a horizontal read? I want to look at the records of all the Toyota Camrys only. So only the Toyota Camry records are given to you. All other records are hidden to you. Or if you say, okay, I want to see only the email addresses of all the customers, then that's a vertical. Or if you do a combination of them, you say, okay, I want to see the email addresses of all those people who purchased Toyota Camry last year, along with the amount they paid. So now you have picked a couple of fields. You have picked some records out of the most records in the table or file, and that would be a combination of the two. So logical files give you a window, a smaller window into your entire data set. So you only get to see what you really need. And rest of the information is hidden from you for security and privacy reasons. Logical files are always up to date. Why? Because they always borrow the data from physical files. They never hold the data. So whatever data is there in the physical file, you get the same exact copy. It does not take up any disk space in terms of data. Disadvantages, well, there's a bit of an overhead because every time you query a logical file, it queries the physical file. So that's a bit of an overhead there. It requires extra time to code and compile logical files. But again, there's a benefit of that process. So for the sake of the benefit, these disadvantages are very negligible. In order for you to create a logical file, just like physical files, you need a library, you need a source file, you need to have a member name, you need to create a member of the type source type, LF. In the logical files, you need to reference the physical file. You do that by calling a function p file. And in the parentheses, you provide the name of the physical file object to which you want to talk to. As a result, the logical file can talk to that physical file, and then you can start listing the fields that you want to borrow the data for. Logical file members will then list all fields in which is to borrow from the physical file, and here is an example. So this software is, what is the name of the software?
RIPD?
Which one?
RPID?
RDI, Rational Developer for I. Okay, so Rational Developer environment allows you to code in an editor. What's the name of this editor?
Is it the IBM system?
What is the name of this editor? Like in the green screen, we use SEU editor. What is the name of this editor in which we are coding?
Is that the data management thing?
No, no. The name of the editor is nowhere on the screen. Let's see if you remember it or you've taken notes last week. The name of the editor is LPEX, Live Parsing Extensible Editor, LPEX, okay? Which perspective am I in right now? What's the name of my perspective? And what is a perspective, by the way? First tell me what's a perspective, and then tell me the name of the perspective.
I don't remember the names, but isn't it perspectives like the two on the right side that you pick? Is that
Right,
the perspective?
right. So when you pick a perspective, it allows you to switch from one software to another while you're still in the same environment. So that switch of the software environment is called the perspective. Like, this is my perspective towards this thing, right? The way you use it in English. So you have made the software change its perspective from one perspective to another. The name of this perspective is Remote System Explorer. Can you read the name of the software anywhere on this picture?
I mean, it looks like it's cut off. I see YSTEM Explorer.
No, no, no. That's a perspective name that's cut out, not the software name. The name of the software is not cut out.
Oh, you mean the IBM Rational Development for I?
Yeah, exactly. That's the name of the software. Okay. So Remote Systems Explorer. So the word remote is cut out from the name of the perspective. Correct. Okay. How do you know that this is a logical file member?
The .lf.
Okay. In how many places can you see that .lf?
Three times. I mean, three different places.
It's three different places. So one is here. One is here. And create LF or here, sorry, .lf here. Okay. All of these places are telling you that it's a logical file member. Okay. This logical file member is created with is attached to which physical file?
I would just
Right,
that one right
October activity or oct activity, right, exactly, here in this corner. That's the name of the physical file. This is the function P file that we're calling, okay? This is the name of the record format. How many fields am I borrowing?
Two.
Two, that's it. These two fields, that's about it, okay? So once the compilation goes through successfully, the object is created. How do you check to see if the compilation went through successfully in RDI?
at the bottom.
And where do you go at the bottom?
Isn't it commands log?
Commands log. Okay. Now another question related to commands log. What is a command log? Is it a perspective?
No.
No, it's not, because you stay in the same perspective. So what is it then, if it's not a perspective? It is a view. View. So within the same perspective, you have several views, and the views are at the bottom. Perspectives are at the top. Okay. Any question about this diagram? Or this picture, whatever you want to call it. All good? Okay. In the database development perspective, when you have your logical file done, is it under tables? Is
I think it's under
Logical
view.
file?
it's under views. Yep, yep, it's under views. Okay, good.
Oh, sorry. I'll be back. I have to put myself to sleep.
So now let me close this and let me go back. So just wanted to make sure these people are still missing. Thomas is not here. Eric is not here. And Lewis is not here. Okay, now I will switch over to units. Unit number 8. And let me open the PowerPoint for this week, which is chapter number 8. For those of you who have your books as well at the same time, it's always a good idea to start looking through the book. Page number 333. Let me open the PowerPoint, then I'll share my screen. Okay, so logical files. Simplest way to think of logical file is that they represent different ways to present all or part of the data set. And that's what we looked at last week. It contains no data of its own. It always borrows the data. Programs and utilities such as data file utility can access and manipulate logical files. Okay. Logical files are available under views. We looked at that. Logical files allow you to select or omit some of the data. This is what we will be looking at today. So logical files allow you to omit some of the data as well as select some of the data. For example, as I said, I want to only see the Wisconsin residents. So I use a selection criteria. Or if I say I want to omit all the California residents, so everybody will be selected, but people from California. So if I want to eliminate a smaller scalar, a smaller data set to pick a larger one, then I'm better off eliminating a smaller one. If I'm selecting a smaller one, then I should say select. It's simple as that. Okay. Logical files can exist in multiple ways. We have been working with simple logical files, but next week we'll be looking at joining logical files. And just so that you guys know, how many classes are left? You're looking at my calendar, right? How many classes are left? Three after today. 13, 20, and then 27th. 4th is your final exam due. So you'll be given your final exam on the 27th, and your final exam will be due by the 4th. So we're getting very close. Very close. Almost a month left. So we'll be looking at joins next week. This is the line that's very important for a logical file to have. This allows a logical file to be connected to a physical file. Can a logical file define its own keys other than physical files? A different key field? Can logical files have its own key field other than physical file designated key field? Yes, no,
No,
I don't know. Somebody said something.
no.
Okay, turn to page number 332 in your books, figure 8.2. Page 332, figure 8.2. In fact, you know what? Turn to page 331, figure 8.1. Page 331, figure 8.1. On this page, this is the physical file. What is the name of the record format in this physical file?
EMPPFR.
Okay. What is the name of the key field?
EMPNO.
And how you know? How do you
The
learn?
letter K in front of it.
Okay, just keep that in mind. Turn to page 335. What member is this? Is it physical or logical? Page 335, figure 8.3.
It's logical.
Logical, okay. Now go back to page 331. What is the name of the record format on page 331? And match that with the record format name on page 335. Are they same? Logical file member record format name on page 335. Compare that with page 331 record format name.
They are the same.
Same name? Okay. Now on page 335, what are the key fields?
Last name, first name.
And what are the key fields on page 331?
Just EMPNO.
Are they different?
Yes.
Yes. So the answer to the question is yes, they can be different. And that's another reason you want to have a logical file which has different key fields than your actual physical file, because this logical file will be used to search items on a different criteria than what the physical file was originally intended to do, because logical file needed the keys to be on those fields so that the retrieval rate can be faster. Okay? For faster retrieval rate, it can do that. Okay. Now, before we move forward, I want everybody to log into V2 Cloud. And when you are in V2 Cloud, give me a green check. And when I get green checks from everybody, that's when I know that we are ready. So when you are in RDI, when you are in green screen, open RDI. Make sure you open RDI. And you have to choose a workspace that is only intended if you are planning on working with locally. Okay, so everybody gotten? So let me share my screen here. Okay. Okay, so let's go to your source physical file in RDI. So in order for you to look at your source physical file, you can right click on your library and you can go to expand to source files. It will then only list your source files. Let me clear everybody's feedback. So we will locate FA23 initials B, and we will be working from that source physical file. So nobody's behind, right? Everybody is where I am right now. Okay, I'll take that for yes. Right click and go to new and click member. Okay. We're going to turn on the caps lock and we're going to call this one accounts B. It will be a physical file member. And make sure that you choose PF for a physical file member. So it's called accounts B, physical file member, finish. It will take a few seconds and will load your your physical file member in front of you. Now, what do I do here? Which key do I press to start typing?
F4.
F4. Okay. So now down below, I start with my record format, REC ACT. Or you know what? Let me get rid of this REC ACT stuff. Let me rather start with the word unique on the first line. And on the second line, I'll start with my record format. And you guys already know this, that when you are typing, you can just simply tab over. You don't have to write a line. What field length should I use for date?
Would it be 6?
Isn't there like L for the data type, so you don't have to put a field length?
Yep, that's what it is. Data type is L, and you don't have to put anything else.
Did you already compile?
It didn't compile for you?
No, I'm asking if you did already.
No, I did not compile mine yet. I'm just waiting for everybody to be
Oh, okay.
caught up. Yeah.
Would you want us to compile it?
Yeah.
Or just-
Yeah.
okay.
When you're done, just go ahead and compile. It should go through just fine.
Okay, just making sure.
So all of you, when you're done, you compile. You could compile by right-clicking on the member, by going to compile, create PF. Do not choose change PF because change PF is only for already existing members. Since we are creating this member for the first time, this will be create PF. Everybody got it? Or anybody still coding? Just let me know if you're still coding. If you got it, then you don't need to tell me. Okay. Next, what we will do is we will create a logical file. So we right click on the same source physical file, go to new member, and we will name this member ACT LF1. And we will choose logical file LF. Finish. First thing I'm doing is I'm leaving the first line blank, and you will know why soon. But for now, leave the first line blank. Starting from the second line, you will put the record format is REC-ACT, same record format as your physical file. In the function, we write P file, the name of the member, the physical file member. And I am interested in selecting the ACT num and amount. That's it. Those are the only two fields I'm interested in. Once you're done with that, you go ahead and compile.
What was the last one for the field again?
Yep. As soon as I logged back in, I was logged out.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Okay. So as soon as you're done, you right click and then you go to Compile.
Are we selecting create logic file?
Say that again?
Are we creating the logic file then to compile it?
Yes, yes. Upon
Okay.
successful compilation, it will create the logical file, right?
Perfect.
Then you can check to see that the logical file was created successfully by checking the logs. Sorry, by checking the view. First, you check the command log, then you go and check the views in the database development perspective, and you should be able to see the logical file.
I messed up. I ended up not putting the B at the end of accounts in that parentheses.
Ah, okay.
So I just go back to
You just go back to that line and press F4, and then in the
Okay.
prompt, make the changes.
something wrong. Do you mind if I share my screen again? I think I messed up on something.
Okay.
Okay. There it is. Share. Yeah,
Okay.
so
I am not telling you. It's
I was
so
thinking like
it's
refresh, right?
no, it's so obvious. What did you write in purple color? Can you read it to me, please?
Never mind. Oh my goodness. It's been a long day today. I had like 3 hours of sleep and I had to drive everywhere. So, oh my God. All
Okay.
right. Stay and then
Right
compile.
click, compile, create a
First
okay.
time to try. Thank you.
No problem. No problem.
No, it's not shared. It is.
Okay. So now go to the database development perspective and then go to Death Star, open your schema, open your logical file, open views, and you should be able to find ACT LF1 in the list. When you find ACT LF1 in the list, you right click on it and you go to data, return all rows. How many records are there?
2.
There'll be none because we
I know,
never
yeah.
put any data in the physical file.
Thinking of something else.
Right? So there should be no data records. There are 2 columns because those are the only 2 columns that are part of logical file, but there's no data because we never put any in the physical file. So now is the time to put data in the physical file. So open tables, right click on accounts SB, go to data, and then go to edit. So under table, accounts, SB, data, edit.
Oh man, you're gonna be mad at me. Okay, so that's our GTCU.
Say that again.
So I'm trying to get to where you are right now, and
Are
I
you,
am not.
you should be in the database development perspective in the
Yes,
top
I am
right
in
corner.
that.
You okay? Then you open
Yeah,
that
but
star.
oh, yep. So just double click, right?
Yep.
I need to
You
sign.
hit-
Yeah, it's telling me to sign in again.
Yeah. So just enter your ITPA username and password.
Yep. 1 second. All right, there we go. And then schemas, the ATP 671, and then views, no tables.
No tables. Accounts. Accounts B. Right click and go to data edit.
Perfect.
Okay. Now this is where I'll be doing data entry. And remember, when we're doing data entry, we do not hit enter until and unless we are on the last record. We keep clicking and tabbing. Okay. So I'm adding data. 1. And it will give you a yellow highlight when the data is not saved yet. So I've entered 5 records. I hit enter in the last record that I enter, and I hit Control S. It should successfully run everything for me. And let me zoom in for you guys, so it's easier for you to read the data that I entered.
So does the first line have to be highlighted yellow? Oh, never mind. I just did it, so never mind. So, okay. After you finish all the data, you just hit enter, then F5 to save.
No, Control S, just like
Control S.
Windows.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Control S. Okay, so after Control S, what else do, oh no. I'm trying to find. Well, it says status is successful.
Yeah. So I
Okay.
did not do anything after that yet.
Okay.
Okay. After this, you will simply right click on the physical file, go to data, return all rows, and you should be able to see all the data that you entered in the bottom right corner. So top is the edit mode, bottom right is the view mode. that you're selecting the data. Now right click on your views, and in your views, your view called the account LF1. Right click on that and go to data and click on return all rows. And you should now be able to see that the columns are filled with values which were empty before, only to show you that logical file always borrows the data from the physical file. That when physical file was empty, logical file was not getting anything. When physical file got the data, logical file started receiving the data as well. Okay. Now, in the top area where you see different names, dates, amounts, pick any one of the amounts for anybody, doesn't matter who it is. Go to that person, change their amount to a value different than what it was before. Hit enter after you make the change and hit Control S. So double click, change the amount. Once you're done changing the amount, hit enter and then hit Control S. Then right click on your logical file and ask it to return all rows again. And you will now notice that you get the new data for that person. This is to show you that at any time the physical file updates the data, in the next run, logical file will reflect that change. Okay, everybody got that working?
Yep.
Okay. Now let's turn back to the chapter. In the chapter, we will now learn about selection and omission criteria, which would be page 338. On page 338, you will see this picture. Everything looks exactly the same except for the last line. What's wrong with the last line? There's nothing wrong with the last line, but it's different. What is different? In the last line, instead of R or K, you now see an S, which means I want to select. What is it that you want to select? I want to select the department field. Okay, go ahead. What do you want to do with it? Well, you know what? I want to call a special built-in function comp, which is for comparison. And I want to select all those records where department equals sales. Now you would have noticed a little bit different stuff here compared to intro to programming. We do not use equals operator. Rather, we use EQ, which is equivalent operator. But we do not write symbols. We spell out everything in letters or abbreviations. So you must be wondering, okay, I understand that, but are there other things besides EQ? Yes. Yes, there are. These are the other things besides EQ. You could be writing NELT, NLGT, NG, LEGE, and that's what it stands for. How many items are there?
8.
Okay. Which two items are not there in C#?
I mean, technically not less than, not greater than.
Yes, very good. Yeah. So these are the same operators that you are familiar with. It's just like we write them like this here. So not equals to is NE, greater than is GT, greater than equals to is GE. So instead of symbols, we have letters. So comp is a keyword, which means I want to pick all those values, compare it to the value of sales. If the record has sales in the department field, then it'll be picked. Otherwise, it's not. Is the value sales case sensitive?
No.
Yes, it is.
Oh.
That's the only thing that's case sensitive. The data in the single quotes. So if you were to query this and you say, okay, I want to get all the sales with all uppercase letters, but behind the scene you had sales written like this, then no records will be found. No data will be revealed. Okay? Just keep that in mind. Now, let me take you through some of the stuff in the book before we move forward. So comp is the comparison operator, or comparison keyword, sorry. Comp is a keyword. In the parentheses, the first thing is an operator, which is one of those 8 operators. The next thing is your comparand. Comparand is the value against which you're checking to see if operator will work or not, or if the results will be pulled or not. I want you to turn to page 340 in your books. There are a couple of examples. The first example is exactly the same example as this one. The second example is with dates. It is possible for you to have a date variable, or sorry, a date field, which is used in comp keywords. So in this case, we are selecting everybody who was hired after or at least on January 1st, 1990. Okay? You could use that with numbers, you could use that with dates, you can use that with time, timestamp, characters, you name it, you can use it. The only thing you have to make sure is when you're using it with date and characters, it has to be in single quotes. By date, I mean date, time, timestamp, and characters also single quotes. And also characters are case sensitive and dates must be in this format, which is 4 digits for year, -2 digits for month, -2 digits for days. Okay, having said that, let's switch back to our environment. And let's change the perspective to Remote System Explorer. Let me close, sorry, let me go to this LF1. Sorry, yeah, LF1.lf. Make sure you are in Remote System Explorer perspective. How can you tell that you are in Remote System Explorer perspective? Check this corner. That should say Remote System Explorer. Check this button. That's gray color machine should be synced in. And that's where you can be assured that you are in the correct place. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is this. I want you to go to the last line. And I want you to start the selection process by choosing S from the name type and say, you know what? I want to select all those records where account number comp is greater than, okay, account number is a character field, right? So I need to use quotes. So greater than 2. Enter. Save the changes. And try to compile it. And let me know what your commands log says when you compile it.
Is that a space between GT and the parentheses too?
Yes, there is a space
Okay.
between GT space and single quotes too. Yes. That is the only place you will leave a space. There's no space between P and parentheses.
It won't let me enter data into mine.
It won't
Yeah.
let you enter what I just entered in the functions.
Yeah, it won't let me type anything.
Oh, did you make sure that you are in the correct perspective? It
Yeah,
doesn't
the
remote system
remote
explorer.
system explorer, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Share your screen. Let's see. And yes, Dylan, it will give you an error, and I'll explain it to you in just a minute once I can get everybody up and running. Okay. Now, go to that very last, go here, okay, and click the apply button. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay, hit, okay, close the tab and say, no, I don't want to save any changes. Okay. Now double click to open it again. Go to the end of the line and hit enter. Okay. Now choose S from the name type, account number, and go to function. Oh yeah, go to functions, comp, parentheses, GT, space, and single quotes 2, close parentheses, enter.
There
Okay.
we go.
Now save the changes and compile. Okay. Now this whatever I'm asking Dante to do, you guys will do the exact same thing. You all will receive this error message. The reason you are receiving this error message is because when you are selecting or omitting some of the fields, you cannot just be doing it directly without without telling the system that you want to select some of the data. And that is the reason I ask you to leave the first line empty. Now go to the first line, the very first line that you left blank, click F4, press F4, and then go to function. And everybody should be doing this, right? In functions, type DYN SLT, enter. Now save the changes and compile again. It is called dynamic select, means I am now interested in selecting some of the data. So you will not receive any error message. Now check your commands log. Go towards the bottom of your commands log. What does it say? Read the fourth line from the bottom. It says the item already exists. Remember, we already created the LF1. So with logical files, if you make changes to them, you cannot update them without first getting rid of the older version. So how do you get rid of the older version? Well, in the top right corner, click on that database icon, right? And right click on LF1 in the views and go to delete or drop. And after that, click OK. Now switch back to the perspective and now compile it again. LF1, right? Yeah, compile. And this time the commands log will go through without a problem. And now go to database development perspective. And right click on views and refresh. And now after that, right click on LF1 and data, return on rows. And here you go. You have all the data members that have an account number greater than 2. Okay, you can stop sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's why it is important for you to first drop the existing member. Only then you can, or existing object, only then you can recreate the physical object. Otherwise, it does not let you recreate the physical object if it's of logical member type.
So just to clarify, we want to delete it before, correct?
Say it again.
We want to delete it before.
You have to delete it before you compile it, correct? And I
Okay.
made you compile before so that you can see the error message, so that anytime you run into an error message when compiling a logical file and the error message says file already exists, that's what it means. You have to first get rid of it, and then only you can recreate it. Okay. Now let's create another one. And how do you create another one? It's simple. It's easy. Click the File menu and hit Save As. And let's make this LF2. Okay. Now, when you use Save As in RDI, because RDI sometimes saves as, but doesn't really updates the snapshot in the tab. So always a good idea to close the tab and double click on LF2 from the list and reopen it.
Could you share your screen?
Oh, thanks. Sorry, I forgot to do that. Okay. So did you save as the LF1 as LF2?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, save as. Yeah, I did that.
Okay. So then you close the tab and then you double click to open it again from the list. Here, LF2. That way, you know, it refreshes and loads a fresh copy of the file in the memory. Otherwise, you're still working with the older memory and things are not in sync. So always when you save as, close the current tab, reopen it. Okay, now on the very last line, this time I will change my selection criteria to amount. Give me all those where amount is less than or equals to. Now, since amount is a number, I can use it a number without single quotes. Save the changes. And since this one doesn't exist, I could simply compile it. And it'll be done without a problem. But when you go to your views, you would have to refresh your views to see this newly created object. Then you can right click on it to see all the data in it. And as you can see in the bottom right corner, the values I have, both of them have the amount less than 800. If you enter different data than I did, then you may have more or less. It all depends on your data. Everybody got it? All good?
Yep.
Okay. Now let me save this as LF3. Click OK. Again, you close the tab once the LF3 loads. Ooh, my
Oh.
bad. I made one mistake. I did not change my perspective. Okay, I changed my perspective.
I was about to ask that.
LF3, and it's not like it will not create the object. It will create the object, but you won't be able to use it until you are in the correct perspective. Now I want to change fields. I want to add one more field. And that will be my date field. So function F4, the date field, I want to add to the list, and I want to change my selection criteria to, I want to select all those where date is after. If I want to select all the records that are from this year alone, so I know that it says that we have not reached the end of the year, right? But I could select everything that is after 2022, December 31st. And that will automatically mean all the records from this year. Or I could do greater than equals to 2003, January 1st. Either way will yield the same results. So then when you're done with that, you save the changes. And since it's a date field, I have to make sure that I enclose it in single quotes. And after I'm done compiling, I change my perspective. I refresh my views. Same drill, and return all rows. And these are the only two records where accounts were set up after December 31st, 2022, or in other words, the accounts were set up this year.
Do you know any Black Friday deals going on for monitors that are fairly cheap? So I'd like to use 2 monitors.
Yes, absolutely. That will be very necessary for the, and you could have probably felt that need already, and this is first semester.
Oh my God, you have no idea.
Anybody, and then, you know, I mean, some people have invested in those USB monitors, you know, those like $70-$80 monitors too, with a kickstand. Some people actually use those as well with their laptops. At least one of my students does in my classes, that he instead of purchasing a full-fledged monitor, he invested in that. That way, even when he comes to the classroom, he uses his own laptop instead of using the lab computers with 2 monitors, and he just attaches his kickstand monitor with it, and good to go.
No,
I didn't know
like
those were a thing.
yeah, I didn't know that either.
Made one using a old laptop monitor, but it doesn't work great.
Oh, okay.
Do you need some kind of like adapter to connect both monitors together, or you just plug it
No,
in the
it's
USB?
it's a USB plug-in.
Okay. No, I mean like if I were to buy a new monitor, not brand new, but like new to me, obviously.
Well,
As
I
long
saw.
yeah, go ahead.
I'll go ahead.
as long as you have another HDMI or what is it, display port,
Mm-hmm.
you should be able to connect another monitor to it.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, this would like, these kind of monitors. They are just, kickstand monitors.
Yeah, those are really good.
Yeah, if there's and it's only $80. Not those expensive ones which run like a few $100s. So that way, they're collapsible. You can put them in your laptop bag, carry them around with you. Just simply connect it with your laptop. It's a USB connection. It is not the greatest quality that you want to be playing your video games on it, but it's a fine quality. So yeah, so that's another option on the table if you want to go that route.
Thank you.
I know at some point when they initially came about with these ones, they were not great in terms of quality. I mean, I was given one during COVID by Gateway. That was 2020. I mean, it was like a bit yellowish in tone, but that was like almost 3 years ago. Now things are way different. Way different. 3 years is a lot for technology, things change very quickly here. Anyway, so everybody got this running. So you get the idea of working with numbers, date, and characters, that it works same with all of them. Okay. And we will try one more with name field. So we'll save this one as number 4.
Quick question for you.
Yes.
For like, say you wanted to check in between this date and this date, do you put like a comma and then can you put another date in the parentheses?
No, we will learn how to put multiple selection criterias today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I saved LF3 as LF4. I'm double clicking to open LF4. And I'm adding the field name to the list. And in my selection criteria, I'm saying, okay, I want to select all those records where name is greater than Josh.
Quick question. So I ended up putting a line underneath date. Does that matter? Like if we were to put in the name?
Did you put name under the date as opposed to over the date, above the date?
No. Yeah, so I didn't create, I mean, it's just a blank line right now under date. How do you get rid of that line?
Oh, that's easy. Let me create a blank line and show you, demonstrate, and you can follow that. So let's say,
Okay.
it's something like this, right?
Yep, just like
Okay.
that.
So in the columns where you see 0, 0, 0, you click on the leftmost one and you type D1 to delete one line, and then hit enter.
Oh,
And
that's so cool.
and the line is deleted. Yep.
Thank you.
So that's how you can set your selection criteria. And I'm setting mine on this parameter. So let me compile. And let me go to database development perspective and refresh. And after I refresh, let me return all rows. And here you can see that for me, Sam and Samira are the two names that were returned. And the reason they were returned because they are letters after Josh J. So that's why I'm getting these names, because the letter is greater than the letters are greater than the letters for Josh. Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
So let's say if I had Josh and Joshua, is Joshua greater than Josh?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it is. Okay. So it just goes either by more letters or something that is higher in terms of letters. If you have two names and they have the same number of letters, but let's say one goes like AKM, the other one goes like AKN. So AKN will be considered greater than AKM. So it just goes letter by letter like that. Okay, so how about we take a break here? After we come back from the break, we'll look at another function, another keyword called values. And we will also be looking at another keyword called range. And as I told Ian earlier, that we will also be looking at multiple selections. Okay. Let's do one last thing. In fact, let's do one more thing. Very quick example before we take off, and I'm going to tell you the time to return back. So let's save this one as number 5. Let me open the number 5. It's so quick, you would not even believe what I'm about to do next year, okay? It's only one letter change, and that is, I want you to change your S of selection with O for omission. That's it. Change your S for selection with O for omission under the name type on the very last line. Save the changes, compile. Once it's done compiling, go to the database, refresh, and check your logical file. Okay. What did you notice, guys?
Got rid of
There's
everything
no-
except for the two before.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was just the opposite of the previous query. It selected everybody who is not greater than Josh. Exactly. So omission is inverse of selection. So if you think you have to omit less letters or less records, and then you can select the rest, you can go that route. If you think that you have to omit a lot to select a few, you go to the select route. So depending on which direction you are going, you will be doing that. Okay. So let's take a break here till 7:45. When you come back at 7:45, that's when we will be looking at those things: values, range, and multiple selections, or combination of selection and omission. We'll look at all 4 of those items. So I'll see you guys at 7:45. Okay, guys, welcome back. Before we went on break, we were learning about the comp keyword. Comp keyword takes in an operand and a comprand. And then it uses one of these 8 operators with values of different data types. And I told you that when you come back from the break, we will be looking at a couple of more keywords. One of them is called values and the other one is called range. And then we will practice those. And then we will work with multiple selections and selection omission combinations. Okay. So this is the next keyword called values. Values keyword is only used when you're looking for equality. It doesn't work with greater than, less than operations. So let's say if I am looking for all those people who live in the state of Illinois or Wisconsin. So I could list that in values. In the first value, I can use Illinois in single quotes. In the second one, I can use Wisconsin in single quotes. I could separate them by a space. And there's no limit to the number of values you want to list. So you could select it however you want your criteria to be set. You could select if you have less data to display or less variation to display, or you could use omit if you have more variation to omit and only the remaining ones will be selected. So however you want to do it, okay? So that's what the values does. Let's get to the values first, and then we will come back and we will look at the range. So we were working with LF5, and let me go back to Remote System Explorer, and I will be saving this one as number 6. Number 6, close the tab, double click to reopen it. And here you have number 6. And I'm down in the line of the name. So let me change one field. So instead of name field, I want this to be state field. And I want to get rid of the date. So I can just go in the columns and I can type D1 and I can hit enter. And that way the date will be deleted. Date is gone. Once that's done, I will come down to the very last line and I'll say, okay, I am selecting state where the possible values are Illinois space MI, Michigan. Okay, so these are the 2 values that I am selecting on. Illinois and Michigan. Compile. Once it compiles successfully, you go to the database development perspective, you refresh your views, and you right-click and look at the output. And now I can see that I only get Illinois and Michigan. I do not get anybody from Wisconsin because my selection criteria it was that select only those records where the record is Illinois or Michigan. All of the records will be ignored. Okay. So everybody done with this one, right?
I think so.
Okay. So now we will save this one as number 7. We'll close the tab, double click to reopen the tab. I will make one minor change, and that is on the very last line. I will change the S to an O. Enter, save the changes. So don't forget to hit enter before you save changes and before you compile again. So what I'm doing is I am omitting everybody who is in Illinois or Michigan, just reversing my search criteria by omission, and refresh and return all rows. So now you get, oh, hold on a second. Why did this guy show up from Illinois? Did I leave a space there in the name? No, I didn't. Can't. It's 2 characters only. Strange. Okay, let me try again. Omit everybody from Illinois and Michigan. Okay. So return all those. What? How'd this guy showed up? Oh, you know what I might have done in my when I was doing data entry? Instead of I might have put lowercase l. Let me check that. Okay. But it should not have pulled up. No, yeah, that's why this record never showed up the first time. I was only getting 1 Illinois and 1 Michigan, even though I had 2 Illinois people. So I think that's the case. Let me go back and fix my accounts table and change this person. You know, it looked very similar, right? Let me change it to IL, enter, save changes, close, and let me rerun. See, that guy is gone. That's what I did. I used, instead of Illinois, I used lowercase l and uppercase L. That's why that person was getting selected. Now, if I try LF6, now that person will show up in LF6 now. Simple mistakes, simple logical mistakes. Okay, now let's switch back to the PowerPoint, and we are now looking at page 340, range keyword. Range allows you to give a range of values from lower bound to upper bound. For example, here, the range is being used saying that I want to select all those records where salary is between 20,000 and 34,500 inclusive. So 20,000 and 34,500 are also inclusive, okay? So now let's go back here and let's save this as number 8. And in number 8, let me change the last line to say I want to select all those records where amount is ranging between 100 and 1,000. That's my range, between 100 and 1000 inclusive. Save the changes. Refresh your views and check the output. Here we go. So we got everybody whose amount is between 0 and 100 and 1000. And you can see the output in the amount column. That is the case. So that's what range is for. Okay. Now let's switch back to RSE and let's save it as number 9. And in number 9, I want to go down in the selection criteria and change, oops, okay, I forgot to close number 8 and reopen number 9. Okay, so number 9, I want to select based on date. Okay, the problem is I don't have the date here yet. I will fix that in just a minute. Let me first add the date range. So I want to select everybody from June till the end of October this year. Okay, so I want to select everybody from 2023 June 1st through 2023 October 31st. Okay, and instead of state, let me add date. Okay, and let's check. And as I run, I have one person that opened the account within that duration, and that is account number 4. Okay, everybody got this one done?
Almost.
Okay.
All right, I'm good.
Okay. Everybody else is good? Okay. So now we will save this one as number 10. And the number 10, we will first of all change the date field back to the name field. And then the very last line will say, okay, I want to select all those records where name is between Amy and Sam. And here I have all the records where names are Amy or Sam.
Quick question for us here.
Yes.
So say you got a really long list of data, and you're trying to like get everyone from A to S. You can just put like the letter A and like you wouldn't want to put the letter S because then Sam would be truncated off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Then you'll
right.
put letter T.
Yeah, T. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a quick question too. Did you delete date by any chance? The date line?
I did. I did replace the date with name.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, I just gotta do that now.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Now, going back to what we were talking about before, how if I have multiple selection criterias, right? So I want you to turn to page 342. Turn to page 342. And that's not part of the PowerPoint. That's why I'm asking you to go to the book directly. Page 342, sorry, page 342. Look at the very first, look at the top two lines on page 342. Both lines start with the letter S, right? So the first line says, select department equals to research. That means select all the records where department is research. The second line says, select all those records where salary is greater than or equals to 45,000. So once you have multiple select instructions like that, then how does the computer comprehend this information? We'll read the paragraph right below that. When you have multiple selects listed like this, computer will automatically apply OR between them. What does that mean? That means it will select everybody who works in the research department. If they qualify according to the first criteria, they will be selected. If they do not qualify according to the second criteria, then it will check to see if they qualify for the second. If they do not qualify by the first criteria, then it will check to see if they qualify by the second criteria. And it will select everybody who makes more than or equals to 45,000. Okay, so it applies, or if you have S on both lines. So for example, right here, let me go in the list and let me save it as, let me first go to Remote System Explorer. And let me save it as number 11, okay. So with this criteria, let me add another criteria. Select, oh. Select account number, values 3, 4, 5. So now anybody who meets the first criteria or the second criteria will be selected. So anybody who meets the first criteria or the second criteria will be selected. So as you can see over here, everybody got selected here. Why everybody got selected here? Because Amy and Sam got picked up by the first criteria, and the remaining 2 folks are selected by the second criteria because the remaining 2 folks are from the department S3, 3, 4, or 5. So if the record does not meet the first criteria, the record may meet the second criteria. Does that make sense to you guys? What just happened here? Any questions about this one?
Said that they needed to meet the criteria, correct?
They need to meet either of the 2 criteria.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now let's switch back to Remote System Explorer. And let's file save as number 12. Now what I will do is I will close the tab, open it again. I will go to the very last line, and on the very last line, I will go to the prompt and I will select nothing in the selection criteria. So my statements will look like this. Now let me explain to you before you compile or run it. Since I only mentioned S on the first line, on the second line, I did not mention S. I only wrote the field name and the criteria. So now both statements are joined as AND statements. What does that mean? That means select all those people whose name are between Amy and Sam, and they work in department 3, 4, or 5. So both criteria have to be met. So now when I compile it, and I refresh it and I run it. Now notice only one Amy was selected. Why she was the only one selected? Because she's the only one whose name is Amy and she's in department 5, which is one of the 3 departments listed. Got it?
Yep.
Okay, now let's learn about another concept. Page number 342. Look right in the center, right in the middle of page 342. We have first line that says, select all records where department equals marketing. On the second line, notice it says, omit all records where salary is less than 45,000. So first line says select, second line says omit. Now, how does that work? So this is how it works. You're basically telling the database that, first of all, I want you to select everybody who is in the marketing department. Once they're selected, remove them from the data set, put them in the output, and now let's look at the remaining results. Out of the remaining results, please remove anybody who's not making less than 45,000. So what is the output of this? The output of this is everybody from the marketing department will be selected. Doesn't matter what they make. And out of the remaining people, only those people will be selected who make less than 45,000. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Now, look at the third example on the same page, the bottom one. If I switch the sequence around, if I put my omission criteria first and then I put my selection criteria, now this is how it will function. It will look at the entire data set and it will first of all remove everybody who is not making less than 45,000. Everybody will be removed. Even the people from the marketing department will be removed who are not making at least who are making more than 45,000 or equals to 45,000. Now what it does, since it removes everybody out, okay, now the remaining records which are left out of those records, it will now only select the marketing people. So what will happen? Your end result will be the list of the marketing people who are making less than 45,000. So it first omits everybody who do not meet the first criteria. And then of the remaining records, it selects only those people who work in marketing department. So selection and omission sequence matters if you use them in the same logical file. Okay, now let's save it as number 13. Let me change the name field with a state field. Oh, I forgot to close it and reopen it. That's what it does when you don't do that. Okay, let me change the name field with the state field. In the selection line, I'll say, select all those people who are in the state of Wisconsin. Then on the second line, I'll say, omit anybody whose amount is less than 1,000. So that's my omission criteria. Okay. So let's compile. Okay. Now notice it first of all made sure everybody from Wisconsin is selected. Notice both people in Wisconsin, even though their amounts is less than 1,000, they're still picked. And out of the remaining people who are non-Wisconsin residents, it eliminated anybody who has an amount less than 1,000. All of those guys are gone. So these are the remaining people. And look at the amounts of Illinois and Michigan. They are over 1,000. So it will select everybody from Wisconsin, irrespective of how much they have in the amount field. And for everybody else, then it will remove anybody who is less than 1,000. Got it?
Yep.
Okay. Now let's save this one as number 14. Close the tab, open it again. Okay. Now let me swap their places. It's so easy to swap, okay? Select everything from O carefully till the end. So you can Control X. Go after the amount, hit enter. Make sure your cursor is in the correct place. Wait, oops, sorry. It should be above the letter S. And then when you hit Control V, so that everything goes in the correct spot. That's one thing you have to be careful when you're cutting and pasting. You got to make sure that you cut from the right place and then you paste it the right place.
Oh, what if you, because I tried to do that and it shifted. So it's
Right.
not like
It
on
only
my end.
shifts. It only shifts when you do not do it right. So notice
So,
again, I started selecting from O
yep.
all the way to the parentheses. So I made sure exactly this one I'm selecting. I didn't select the space before O. I didn't select the space after the parentheses. So cut it,
Okay.
Control X. Go to the end of the line that has amount and hit enter. Then make sure your cursor is blinking exactly on top of S when you paste it. Then save
Okay.
changes.
Yeah, because it is exactly over as, so then Control X or Control V,
Yes.
and it keeps on doing that.
Okay. Share your screen. Let's see what you're doing. Maybe you have a space, an extra space added. Sometimes we do that. Okay. Hit Control Z, Control Z.
Control Z, Control Z.
Control Z.
Yep, I did.
It's not reflecting on my end. I still see your old lines.
You can just go in front of the O and backspace.
You can. Yeah, yeah. But I want you to do it that way. Yeah, you could hit Controls like backspace to fix it, but yeah. So your Control Z is not working.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Okay.
doing it right now. Oh, there it is.
Okay. Now
And then
do
Control
it
Z.
again. Do it again.
Okay. Yep.
Keep doing it till the O goes back to its previous position. Do it again.
Keep on going. Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Here you go. Okay. Now select
Okay.
from O. Select from O all
Yep.
the way
And
to
then
the
all the
closing
way.
parentheses. Okay, now hit Control X. Oh, you missed one parentheses. Yeah,
There it
Control
is.
X.
Okay.
Now go to the end of amounts. D, hit Enter. Place your insertion point right on top of S and hit Control V. Here you go. And then go to
Okay.
the next line. Yeah, here you go. Save the changes. Good
Okay.
enough. Okay. So let's see. Okay, so once we do that, I have not compiled mine yet, which I will be doing next. So compile, create LF. Okay. Now, remember what this does? It first of all will omit everybody who is less than 1,000. Doesn't matter if they are in Wisconsin or not. Then it will select everybody from Wisconsin. So now let me refresh. And then let me go to LF14, return all rows. It will have nobody selected. Why nobody selected? Because everybody in Wisconsin, in my case at least, had an amount of less than 1,000. That's why everybody from the Wisconsin will be deselected. So there was nothing left for the next criteria to run. So that's why nobody was selected. So it's okay for your logical file to not have any records back. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. All it means is there was nobody to meet the criteria. Okay? Does anybody has any questions?
I don't think so.
Okay. What I would like you to do next is I want you to go to Blackboard. Under this week, go to the unit number 8. Okay. And what I've done is I've created small video tutorials for you guys, those YouTube video tutorials, the smaller ones. Of course, you will have the class recording as well, but you know, how to create a basic logical file, how to use dynamic select, what is selection with comp and omission with comp, selection with range and selection with values, multiple selects with or, multiple selects with and. So I mean, like those or and and operation that we did, that's all part of this. And then you have 2 assignments this week, but they're so related to each other. If you do number 6, number 7 is a no-brainer. Maybe like another 5-10 minutes, you can do number 7. I want you to read both of these assignments and let me know if you have any questions about 6 and 7 or 6 or 7.
So after I'm looking at assignment 6
Uh-huh.
and insert the following data in PF member publisher. You want that box screenshotted and saved in the Word doc to be sent to you. Oh no, wait. Okay, never mind. I see it now. Please return screenshot photo all members. Okay, never mind. Just had to read more.
It's up to you, Doubleday, Dylan. Totally up to you. Doesn't matter. Everybody good? Reading through these instructions for the 2 assignments?
So it's just basically what we just did today, then, right?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
yeah, very similar to what we did today. It's just like you're creating your own physical files, you're putting data in it like we did in our physical file accounts. Then you're creating logical file that will talk to the account, to the physical files.
Mhm.
And then you have a quiz number 7. That will be the only quiz and 2 assignments for this week. So next week will be our last week with the logical files. That's where we'll be looking at joins. That's the last topic to cover with logical files. And if you don't have any more questions for me, then that's all for tonight.
Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Copy that.
Take care.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.